House of Wisdom.
Can we trust the Bible? This is a documentary research film by Truthiracy, House of Wisdom, debunking the lies of Bible changed by the Illuminati by Chris White.
Was the Bible written or changed or corrupted by the Illuminati or anyone else? Was it created to control the minds of the masses? The answer to this question is no, and it's probably one of the easiest things in the world to prove.
That's actually a complete false statement, leading the sheep to believe in what the person that made that video wants them to believe in. Because the truth is, there is absolutely no way whatsoever to prove it at all. And I will prove that without question. You see, he's making you think that it's based upon facts, but 100% that is based upon his opinion.
And I will do so in 3 different ways. Number 1, scientifically. Number 2, logically or literally. And number 3, historically. Scientifically speaking, it's extremely easy to prove, because there are more fragments of the New Testament than there are for any text in the history of the world.
You see, you may not realize it, but he is the Pied Piper that's leading the blind mice. He is using your own ignorance against yourself. You see, basically, he is saying that it's easy to prove that the Bible was not changed or altered by the Illuminati scientifically because there are more fragments that exist of the New Testament than there are for any text in the history of the world. Okay, first of all, not only is that statement completely false and wrong, it's very misleading. You'll notice that he said the New Testament.
Because there are more fragments of the New Testament than there are for any text in the history of the world.
So that is absolutely 100% false.
Because there are more fragments of the New Testament than there are for any text in the history of the world.
To say that there are more fragments of the New Testament than any other text in the history of the world is not only wrong, but completely a false lie. You see, the real truth is that the most ancient text or earliest forms of writing actually are known as the cuneiform clay tablets that come from ancient Sumer and ancient Mesopotamia. And you see, there is not just a couple of these ancient clay tablets. There are literally multi-thousands and thousands of them that have been found dating back way before the oldest fragments of the Bible or the New Testament, or even the Old Testament.
The original manuscripts of the Hebrew Bible, which would have been written on animal skins or papyrus, have long since deteriorated. In a tomb at Ketephinam in Israel, the oldest text of the Hebrew Bible was discovered, inscribed on a silver scroll in the Old Hebrew script dating to the 7th century BCE. Another very old fragment of the Hebrew Bible is the Nash Papyrus, discovered in Egypt in 1898, and is dated to the 2nd century BCE. Very few ancient texts of the Hebrew Bible have been found and are very rare.
So, the oldest text found of the ancient Hebrew Bible come from the 7th century BCE. And actually, the oldest fragments of the New Testament begin in the 2nd century AD. So, in other words, the oldest fragments of the Bible date back roughly 2,000 years. And the oldest cuneiform tablets date back anywhere from 4 5 or even 6,000 years ago. So the real truth is, the most ancient forms of writing or text known to mankind or to the world are actually the ancient cuneiform tablets, not the fragments of the New Testament, or even the fragments of the Old Testament. And perhaps if you actually thought that the ancient Dead Sea Scrolls were the most ancient forms of writing, you would be dead wrong.
Between 1947 and 1956, ancient scrolls and fragments of the Hebrew Bible were discovered in caves near the Dead Sea. These scrolls have been dated to the 1st century BCE and the 1st century CE. The most famous of the scrolls and fragments found within the Dead Sea caves is the Isaiah scroll. While most of the scrolls are fragmented, deteriorating, or incomplete, the Isaiah scroll is the only complete scroll found.
Carefully listen to what he said one more time.
While most of the scrolls are fragmented, deteriorating, or incomplete, the Isaiah scroll is the only complete scroll found.
And these clips were taken from Jeff Benner of the Ancient Hebrew Research Center, who is a professor of the ancient Paleo-Hebrew. So you see, Chris White actually used and manipulated information and used your own ignorance against your own self. Because the truth is that the most ancient text in the world is not from the New Testament, but actually dates back multi-thousands of years before, from the ancient cuneiform tablets. And if you want to get technical or scientific, you see, he wants you to think that there are thousands of fragments and thousands of copies of the Bible, which is more than any other ancient text. And that's simply not true at all. So Chris White wants you to believe, and manipulates you to believe anyway, that because there are 5,600 or so copies of the New Testament, it's more than any other ancient text in the world. And that's just simply nowhere near the truth. Because the truth is that cuneiform tablets are multi-thousands more than the copies of the New Testament. In fact, there are hundreds of thousands of cuneiform tablets that have been found throughout the world. So you see, the truth is that there are only around 120 or so New Testament fragments of papyri. And according to biblical scholars, most of these manuscripts are many centuries removed from the originals, and none of them are perfectly accurate. They all contain mistakes, altogether many thousands of mistakes. So the real truth is the Bible has, without question, been significantly changed over time. It has been altered, and that is not an opinion. That is, without question, the facts.
In the digital age, electronic copies are perfect representations of the original. However, in ancient times, making a copy of a manuscript was much more tedious and not as precise, and this allowed for human intervention or error.
So, to quickly recap, the Bible has, without question, been altered and changed beyond belief. And also, the text of the New Testament is not the oldest text in the world at all. And it's not the most numerous either, because the ancient cuneiform tablets predate it thousands of years, and there are multi-thousands of copies more than the copies that are found from the New Testament. So Chris White is proving nothing scientifically by saying that the Illuminati has never changed or altered the Bible just because there are many, many copies of the New Testament, or because that there are more fragments that can be found than any other text in the world, which was absolutely a lie. But even if there was, it still wouldn't prove that the Illuminati never changed or altered the Bible, because the Illuminati is unknown. The Illuminati are the elite, the ones that rule us and that own us. And nobody even really understands or knows nor can comprehend who they really are. So they could go back thousands and thousands of years when they first began to control the minds of humans. So to say that just because that there are thousands of copies means that they didn't alter it is bullshit. Because today there are, what, billions of copies made of the Bible. There are thousands and hundreds of thousands of churches found throughout the world on every street corner. Does that mean that the Illuminati is not real? And to all of those people out there that keep saying that, oh, the Illuminati wants to kill the Bible and they want to prove Jesus is wrong and all this kind of stuff because they're evil and the Bible is actually real. Well, no, you're wrong. 100%. The truth is that the Illuminati is not trying to get rid of the Bible and kill it at all. They're not trying to do away with religion. They're not trying to do away with the theology of Jesus or religion at all. That's exactly why they have a church on every corner. That's why they print billions of copies. That's why the Bible is the #1 printed book and #1 selling book in the world. Because they want it that way.
This also means that if the Bible was changed, it would be almost the easiest thing on the planet to prove. All you would have to do is to point to some of the older texts and say, at this point they all said this, and then, after a certain point, they all began to say that. Also, if this was true, you can bet that instead of people just claiming that the Bible was changed, they would simply prove that the Bible was changed. It would be very easy to do.
Okay, first of all, there is not one shred of paper or papyri or anything made from animal skin or anything that comes from the original works or books or anything that was written from the original authors of the Bible. None whatsoever. The only thing that anyone has is copies upon copies upon copies, and all of these copies are all different amongst themselves. There's not one copy that is exactly like the other copy. They have all been proven to be drastically different, and that is not opinion, that is pure fact. I mean, even today, look how many translations or variations or difference of opinion there are in the Bible to this very day. Look how many translations there are. I mean, there's the English Standard Version, the New American Standard Bible, King James Bible, the International Standard, Aramaic Bible, God's World, King James 2000 Bible, American King James Version, the American Standard Version, and on and on. And then, of course, the Bible that they authorize us to believe in is the King James Bible from 1611, which is, of course, around 400 years old, which is absolutely nothing compared to how old the Bible is supposed to be. So the Bible that we're supposed to believe in is a Bible that was made in 1611, or 1,611 years after the fact. How many countless variations and versions of copies upon copies have been made since then. And this is what they expect us to believe in, as if it's the actual words of God or words that were inspired by God, when we don't even know what the original words were that were supposedly inspired and made by God.